And we're live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome
Hi,
to the
everyone.
Can We Discuss podcast with your favorite sisters, Yara and Petra. This podcast is where we start conversations and share our perspectives on things that matter to us.
Yes, we're so excited for the first episode. I can't believe we're actually here and we're doing this. I'm super excited to bring you all along on this journey. That's been a long time coming, I think, right?
Been a
Yara
long
knows
time
this.
coming.
Yeah, I've been talking about wanting to start a podcast. I actually found a video the other day. It's so funny. Um, During COVID, where I was like, guys, I'm about to start a podcast. I actually obviously never did. And I think it all happened for a reason because now I get to do it with my best friend, Yarusha, who everyone knows I can't do anything in life without. So we're so excited to be here.
We're so excited
So,
to actually start this. And I think what we're going to do, just to give you a bit of background on who we are, how we came up with the idea of this podcast, and what our topic for today is. So,
yeah.
as Petra mentioned, this has been a long time coming, but we finally wanted to start this. It was a couple months ago, but corporate world got the best of us. So we had to we had to push it a bit. We had to postpone the launch a bit, and here we are today. For everybody that's listening, that's tuning in, the podcast is going to be a very natural approach for us. It's going to be how we naturally or regularly speak, and it's going to be a mix of English and Arabic.
Yeah.
For everyone that is an Arabic speaker, it's amazing because you guys would also be able to understand both sides of it. If you're an English speaker, for the videos, we will be including subtitles in the videos whenever we do
Yeah.
speak in Arabic. And if it's audio, we'll be repeating ourselves a bit in English. So you'll be able to understand at least the context of the entire conversation.
Exactly. Usually it's a lot of filler words that we do in Arabic, but if there's anything that's
Yeah.
major that needs to be translated, we'll definitely be like touching upon it in English again. Um, but yeah, so let's dive deep into it. This podcast is really going to be discussing, like Yara said, our unfiltered perspective on so many things in life. It's not really going to be about our lives. It's more so touching about topics that we think really impact people and things that we think are interesting and also resonate with us so we can give you our perspective on it as well. So, with that being said, our first topic is third culture kids. Anyone who knows us knows that we are third culture kids, and I'll let Yarush kind of touch upon our background a little bit, tell you about where we grew up and what makes us third culture kids.
Third culture kids, people that belong everywhere and nowhere at the same time. That's, I think, how I would define a third culture kid.
For
So
sure.
our parents are originally Lebanese. We were born in the States, born in Boston. We grew up in Saudi Arabia, and we lived in Lebanon only for our undergrad years, university. I currently live in Dubai. Petra lives in Boston. So Petra's back in Boston.
Yeah. Um, it's honestly really incredible to think about how many like third culture kids there are in the world, especially, nowadays. I think the number is somewhere around 220 million third culture kids globally, which is insane. But I think there's so many people, and even though it's not the same exact kind of background that we have, that have just been really wandering the world and living everywhere. And I think that's so beautiful. But first, let's go back to the basics and let's kind of really define what a third culture kid is. So tell me, what is it?
Third culture kids are people or children that are raised in a culture outside of their parents or their native culture. So they kind of grasp different perspectives from all around the world. I mean, growing up between different cultures is a blessing and a curse. I wouldn't say a curse per se, but no, it's a blessing and there are some downturns to it, right? Of
Yeah, like
course. So what
everything,
we're
right?
doing
Comes
today is
with the
we're
good.
delving deeper into the good, the bad, the beautifully confusing in between
Mhm.
of people that have a home everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah. So I think with that, like Yara said, the reason why we really wanted to start the podcast with third culture kids, because we really felt like it gives you a little insight about our lives, about how we grew up without really like derailing into so many details. And then it's also such an interesting topic that I think a lot of people are trying to navigate right now. There's a lot of perks that comes with it. There's a lot of challenges that comes with it. But first, let's start with the good. Let's start with all of the beautiful, beautiful, awesome things that come with being a third culture kid.
AKA all the beautiful things that come with being us.
Yeah,
I
naturally.
think it's important for you to know that we are third culture kids
Hmm.
because being that has shaped a lot of our views, our perspectives, our opinions about multiple different things around the world, and
Yeah.
different topics that we're going to be discussing throughout the duration of this podcast.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's you learn a lot as a third culture kid. You're more open minded. You become a citizen of the world. And I think
Hmm.
that's very important because you start to see things differently. And with being a third culture kid, you really start to relate to so many different people. I think one of the biggest blessings of being a third culture kid is the fact that we were introduced and we were able to know people from so many different backgrounds, so many different cultures, religions, nationalities, and we've made really good friends that have turned
Yeah.
into family from being third culture children. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages for me is that wherever I go in the world, I know someone, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the best, like the most awesome thing about it, is like you become really kind of like a cultural chameleon, right? You have this great sense of adaptability and you're really able to find comfort in like a lot of different environments, which I think is so cool. um you know, in high school, my specific like group of girls that was, you know, my core group, we had 8 different cultures within the same kind of group, and we never even noticed the blessing that we had until much later on, where we're like, yes, now let's travel the world and we have friends everywhere, right? And it's amazing. Um, but that's one of the perks. And I think the other one is that open mindedness that we kind of talked about as well and a little bit touched on. I think you really, really become so accepting of other people and you really appreciate the diverse perspectives and walks of life that people come from. And I think that that's really incredible and something that I've seen, that was interesting for me to see when I moved to the US, where, you know, obviously D&I is such a big like buzzword and diversity is like the biggest buzzword, and if you're not diverse, you're not doing it right. And I think like third culture kids, diversity is like second nature. Like they don't even notice it. They don't even feel it. Like it's just something that they're
Yeah.
automatically
We
almost
don't think about
expecting.
it. It's just
Yeah,
there. To us, it's the norm.
yeah,
You're not normal if you don't have that background with you. To us, right?
100%.
I mean, to me, I think it
Not
really
normal,
shaped
but yeah.
not normal per se, like normal the way
Yeah,
normal
yeah,
is,
yeah.
but to us that's our norm, right? Coming
Yes.
from that background, having that diverse background, I think is very helpful, and
Yeah.
it creates children that are very confident, children that are outspoken, outgoing, that are not as shy. Of course, some kids are always going to be shy, but not as shy, and they're always willing to explore. And I think
Yeah.
to me, that's one of the best things, right?
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
when people ask me what my favorite thing about growing up in Saudi Arabia was, my answer is automatically always the fact that I grew up with so many people from different backgrounds, and the fact that I was able to maintain these friendships, to stay in touch with these people, even if you're not talking on a daily basis, on a monthly basis even, or on
Yeah.
a yearly basis, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we're all internationally located, but still all connected through social media. I think that's one of the biggest blessings as well, right? You go
Yeah, for
back and you
sure.
see these people, you guys talk. You see that this person has been tagged in a location where you're at, and you go, oh my God, I have to see that person. And
Yeah.
regardless,
Yeah.
because you grew up with them, you had that childhood, you feel that connection instantly.
100%. I think another thing that I think is super cool about being a third culture kid, something that we're calling perks, right? Or like one of the pros of being a third culture kid is you start to have like in Arabic, let's take Arabic as an example. There's so many different dialects. And a lot of the times, if you've only grown up listening to that one dialect, it becomes, you're almost, whenever you hear any other Arabic dialect, you're kind of like, are they even speaking Arabic? But
Yeah,
now you have this like increased like language fluency because of, you being a third culture kid and growing up with people from so many different cultures, right? Um, and I think, Saudi is a different example for third culture kids because Saudi is such a like melting pot of different cultures. But for example, a third culture kid could also be living in a country that does not is not their native country, but it does
absolutely.
not
They can be
have.
immigrants as well, right? They can be
Yeah,
people who
yeah,
have recently immigrated or immigrated a while
exactly.
ago. Their
And
parents
so even
immigrated and they
though
have to learn different cultures.
100%. And I think like the point of me saying that was like even though they're not possibly with people from multiple cultures, even being exposed to a new culture opens you up to understanding and learning languages. And I think that that's such a cool and interesting thing that we kind of overlook sometimes. The fact that I can understand when my Syrian best friend is speaking in Syrian or in Egyptian or in Jordanian or in Moroccan or you know what I mean? And I think that it's so cool. I saw a big thing here like when I moved where, we would get off of a corporate call and people would be like, I didn't really understand a word he said. And I'm just like, oh, really? Let me translate.
So
So I
they
think
would
that's
come,
cool.
they would have probably been from a different ethnic background, like not
Oh,
full
yeah.
US.
Oh,
Oh,
oh
okay.
yeah. No, no, no. These would be like global calls with people from all over the world. And it would be like one main person presenting. And they're like, but did we really understand what he was trying to say? And I'm like, I did. I don't know. But yeah. So even like here, a lot of like my husband's cousins, if we introduce them to some of our friends who are Arab but not Lebanese, they would be like, do you understand what they're saying? Like they speak so
In
different than
English,
Arabic.
in English or
Yeah.
in Arabic, when we're speaking
No,
in
in
English.
Arabic. No, in
Oh,
Arabic, in Arabic. And
yeah,
they
but I
wouldn't.
mean, we've seen that, right? We've seen that with a lot of family and friends that have grown up in Lebanon alone, for example, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's one of the it's only when you leave the country that you're from
Start
or
to.
that you're used to that you start understanding these different dialects. Or in
Yeah,
Lebanon's case, when you're watching Turkish shows that are
for
transliterated.
example. Yeah, the Ramadan shows, all of them.
Yeah.
That will give you a good challenge. And then I think one of the last kind of things, pros that I wanted to touch on is that global perspective that you get. You really start to have like a broader understanding of the world, its complexities, like all of these things. Just because now you're hearing, you're listening more, you want to learn more, I feel you become more curious.
I think that's absolutely true. And I think you carry that with you throughout.
Yeah.
But there's also, I don't want to say a negative connotation to that, but there's also something that I feel becomes lacking. You know what I
In what
mean?
sense?
From a global perspective, for example. As I mean, sometimes the more global you are, you feel kind of disconnected a bit with the local.
Yes, yes. In terms of your local perspective, yes, you definitely. Did you just lose power?
Yeah.
Oh my God, is this a joke? That's hilarious. By the way, Yara's in Dubai right now, and it's raining. And if it's raining in Dubai, it's like, خلاص, like, خلصت الدنيا, end of the world.
You can't even see me.
I can't see you. I can't see you.
Wait, no.
Oh my God, I feel like you're in Lebanon. If you were in Lebanon, this would make sense, but you're not.
But this is the second time this happens today.
Oh, that would have been good to know before we started. You were like, it already happened once. There's no way,
It's
we're
not
in
going to
Dubai.
happen again. It doesn't happen a million times in Dubai. This is not normal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are we going to continue? Is this going to be...
How you're gonna look like for the entire rest of it?
It's not going to be the entire rest of the episode. It'll probably just be for 5 to 10 minutes.
Can you plug your ring light into your laptop?
Give me a second. Let me try. This is so funny. I think we should keep this in the podcast.
We can keep it in. Of course we can.
Global
We said we
perspective,
wanted to
everyone.
be-
Global perspective. Give me a second.
We said we wanted to be like natural and authentic and whatever. So here you go. Dubai has a blackout right now, which is actually crazy. Like actually
Give me a
insane.
second. I'll be right back. I
know.
Oh, yay, it's back.
Oh, there we go. Amazing. That was nice and that's a good luck charm for us, right? Like when something that only happens so little happens on our first episode, it's a good sign.
Okay, let me...
With that,
again. I'm back.
you're back.
Full life.
Welcome back. With that, I want us to move along and let's move into the challenges, right? Because we said that in the beginning, like it's a blessing and a curse, and
I wouldn't say
so
curse. Again, I wouldn't say curse.
not a curse, but yes, that's the saying, right? Blessing and a curse. So I'm just saying the same. But so let's talk a little bit about some of the challenge. Why don't you kick us off?
No, you kick us off for the challenges.
Okay. Okay. Yara wants to stay positive all the time. I'll kick us off. One of the biggest things is for me that I've experienced and that I've talked to a lot of other people that come from the same background or that are, third culture kids on paper, is that you don't feel like you fully belong anywhere. And it's really, you always feel like there's a part of you that's living somewhere else. There's a part of you that wants to be somewhere else, but wants to also be present and fully experience and enjoy what they have right now. So I wouldn't call it like an identity crisis, but it's somewhat of an identity crisis, right? Because here in the US, I don't feel like I'm an American. I don't feel like when I meet people, they definitely hear my accent. I do not have I don't have an American accent. But in Lebanon, they think I have an American accent, or in Saudi, wherever, they were like, "Oh, you speak so American." I'm like, I went to an American high school.
And then they meet our mom who has a full-on Bostonian accent when she speaks.
Oh yeah.
And they go, "You don't speak like your mom."
Yeah. Yeah, we don't speak like our dad either, And that's, I don't know if maybe in Dubai it's a little bit, I keep playing with my hair, I need to stop. Maybe in Dubai it's a little bit less than what I feel here in the US, because you're surrounded by not only a lot of familiar people or a lot of people that have been in our lives forever, but it's also like Dubai is also is the best recipe for like a melting pot of all different cultures.
It's so similar to the way that we grew up in Saudi, right? I think all of the Gulf kids will agree to the fact that we kind of all grew up very similarly to each other.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've all been kind of made, we've all been kind of made accustomed to being surrounded by so many people from so many different cultures, even in the corporate world here. Right. So even like you said, I'm very lucky in Dubai. I'm surrounded by family. I'm surrounded by friends that I've known my entire life. Same thing goes for a lot of the people that I know that are here. And it makes it
Yeah.
so much easier for all of us. But also, it's easier than being in the States, for example, or in Lebanon for that matter, or maybe living in Europe at this point in your life as a third culture kid from that grew up in the Gulf. Because in the Gulf, we're all the same. We all kind
Yeah.
of have, we share the same values. We kind of have the same mindset. It's not really identical, obviously, but it's the same. It's very similar. يعني مش
Similar.
ما حدا حيحس حاله غريب عن التاني بس يكون قاعد مع شخص انه انت ربيت كمان بالكويت مشان هيك نحن هيك انه
Yeah.
كلنا بحس خلص كلنا بنفهم على بعض.
صح صح. So تنفهم الكل اللي ما بيفهم إنه basically Yara was just saying ما بيفهم عربي. Basically Yara was just saying that like specifically when it comes to the GCC, you all feel as kind of like somewhat of a similar bond because that's just kind of how the culture is in all of the GCC countries. They're
Yeah.
very expat heavy. And with that comes a lot of people from a lot of different cultures. And I think that's the main difference between like here in the US, where yes, there is a lot of people from different cultures, but it's very like city specific.
Yeah.
And obviously here in Boston, it's just all of the students that are like, or the doctors. And
Or the
I'm not
Lebanese.
yeah, I'm not either, you know. But let's move to like another challenge that I also see that I've experienced, and again, like speaking to other people, I've seen that as well, is that it becomes a lot more difficult when you're a third culture kid to form deeper connections and to create your own sense of home because obviously like you grew up in a completely different country. You The people that were there that were with you, those were the people that you formed the deepest connections with. They're the people that have seen you like through so many different phases of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the people that become your chosen family
Yes.
within these countries.
I think it also has to do with وقتها قلتي انه identity crisis, right? So when you said identity crisis, I think it's all part of that because when you
Yeah.
grow up kind of away from what is your native, you really start to kind of explore. You either get very close to your mother culture or you kind of move away from it. And
Yeah.
that's the same with culture, with traditions, with religion, with a lot of it, right? We grew up getting closer to our culture. So I'm very proud to be Lebanese. I'm also very proud to be Lebanese American. I'm also very proud of the fact that I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and the fact that I'm close to my religion. But a lot of people have it's not like that with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has
But
different.
let's also be real. Like, have you ever met a Lebanese that's not proud to be Lebanese?
Honestly, recently I've been meeting a lot of people that aren't proud to be Lebanese, and it's kind of pissing me off.
Oh, I mean, for me, it's quite the opposite, where it's like, you're a little like
Too
every
Lebanese.
Lebanese person. Yeah, every Lebanese person who moved here, like their parents moved here in the 70s, they've been here forever, and I'm like,
In the
you're
70s.
not even Lebanese anymore. I don't even know what you are because we're not like that anymore in Lebanon.
Yeah,
But
we don't
that's
speak the
funny.
same way anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very true that like you feel a difficulty because we're so used to, and this is actually another challenge, I believe, is we're so used to goodbyes, which, Winnie the Pooh says you're so lucky to have something that makes it so hard to say goodbye, and
Yeah.
I love that. But Winnie the Pooh quote, our first quote on the on the podcast. But you get so used to saying goodbye to your friends,
It's
to your
so
family,
sad.
to your places that you love. Like now there's places that we grew up loving that we can never go back to. You know what I mean? They're not
Honestly,
there, for
it,
example.
I went back to Saudi to where we grew up a few months ago, and I literally did a trip down memory lane just
So
because
fun.
all of these places mean something to me, right?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that And all of these different places that mean a lot to all of us are scattered all over the world. So you
Yeah,
leave bits and pieces of your heart all around the world. And
yeah,
you never feel like your heart is one complete part of you anymore.
صح.
I don't know if this is gonna sound like very cliche, بس خلص بتصيري كل ما تروحي محل it takes a part of your heart and it stays there. It's you're
Yeah,
whole, but you're not really whole, no matter where you go, right?
yeah, that's very, very true. And like like, yeah, this is why I think it's one we're saying this is a challenge because it's a very sad one. Like it's very sad the fact
Really
that, you know,
sad. And a lot of people form, I mean, I don't think a lot of parents think of the psychological effects that this has on some kids. A lot of people become more, they have a lower emotional intelligence, for example, or
they don't
they have
trust people.
attachment issues. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They're
attachment
not
issues.
able to form friendships as adults because they're
Yeah,
always basing the bonds that they had with their childhood friends and what they
yeah,
had. They're trying to replicate that all the time
yeah.
throughout their life. And you're
And
not
that was
always
taken
able
away
to.
too.
Yes, absolutely. And these friendships are also not there or not right next to you. You might have, and I think this will take us to another topic that we want to discuss, but you end up having a lot of long distance friendships.
Oh yeah. You're teasing next week. But yes, yeah, you have long distance friendships. You form like خلص, you almost have like a defense mechanism when it comes to like protecting those friendships as well, or
Yeah,
protecting any of
absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
relationships
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that you have in life. It's kind of crazy, honestly, to think about that. I think that's one of the biggest challenges for me, 100%, is the it becomes
Maintain.
like goodbyes and like saying hello to new places and having
Yeah.
to adapt becomes like a recurring theme in your life. Um, and of course, we're blessed to even have these experiences, to have all of these people that love us all over the world and that we love. But it's hard. It's fucking hard.
It's
It's not
draining.
an easy,
It can be
yeah,
very emotionally draining
for
as
sure.
well.
For sure.
It's absolutely something that yes, we become very resilient, we become very adaptable,
Yeah.
but at the same time بتصيري طب ما كثير عبالي امسك التليفون واحكي مع ما بعرف مين tell them let's catch up, let's go grab coffee. And the fact of
Yeah.
the matter is, for example, for a lot of people, you start planning your summers around all of these different reunions. Like, when are you going to be in Lebanon, for example? When are you going to be in Spain? Let's meet up. How about you guys spend a weekend in Dubai so that
Edit my,
we all stay with each other. So I think it's just a lot of, it just becomes a lot of these kind of conversations or ليك دقي لي بس تفيقي لأنه the time zone is crazy. So just call me when you
صح.
wake up. And that goes
صح.
on
Okay,
for
okay, okay.
sometimes
Now
weeks.
you're moving way into episode 2 territory, so I'm gonna stop you right there. Okay? Okay? Stop. But yes. Um, and I think another challenge, and we kind of touched on it with all of these, is like the cultural clashes that you start to feel. And for me, especially like being in the corporate world, I felt that so much when I first came. My communication style was different. My humor, my jokes,
Yeah.
I didn't understand people's sarcasm. I didn't understand people's jokes and
I can
like
imagine your face looking at people, like your
ايه
facial
انه
expression.
انا كتير مانياك يعني انا كتير I don't like I always like to joke. I don't like to take things too seriously. Some people are gonna be like, oh yeah, you do, but it's like
Depends. You're
it's
a
hard.
Gemini.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini, that's why. It's hard to navigate all of the differences
Yeah.
in the cultures, you know, and
Even with your own
like
family, I mean, it becomes something that because
yeah,
you've had so many different experiences, sometimes within your own nuclear family, it becomes kind of
yeah,
like عن جد بس ما بعرف ما فكرت فيها بهاي الطريقة simply
صح.
because I haven't thought of it in this way because you've taken on or you've learned some different cultural values
Yeah,
depending on
100%.
the place that you live or the group that you're now a part of.
Yeah. you yourself kind of become
A melting pot.
uh, a melting pot of different
Yeah,
cultures,
yeah,
100%.
absolutely. Of course, of
And so
course.
now you're kind of like, yeah, I understand the Lebanese culture, but I can't really like relate to it. It doesn't really resonate with
Yes.
me. Things like
This
that.
resonates, this doesn't resonate. This I want to keep very close to me. It's very important. It's part of my values, my personal values.
Yeah,
It's, I mean, honestly, being a third culture kid, you are constantly in a flight or in discovery mode, trying to understand or trying to mold who you are with the different cultures that you've learned, the different perspectives, the different values that you've grasped from the different places that you've grown up or lived in.
so.
Um,
And
I
then,
think that
having said all of these, I think there's also like a beautiful in between that you can navigate for all of these, which is, the fact that you do have the third culture advantage, right? Like, you do have that ability to kind of like bridge cultures, connect with people from diverse backgrounds. Like, that's beautiful. While it comes with both like pros and cons, it's still such a beautiful in between that you kind of like you create your own culture, right? Which I think is super super cool. um and then another, I think, in between is also like I think like it's the fact that like we already touched on this. Oh my god, I said like so many times, I'm so sorry. We touched on this already so many times, but it's that never-ending culture clash and always navigating the differences even within your own family. But then the beauty of the in-between, I think, comes with the fact that you, no matter where you go, you find your own tribe.
I think
And
we're constantly living in the in between. It's
yes,
not, you're not here, or you're neither here nor there fully. You
yes,
always have kind of that thing inside you. Do you know what I mean? You can be living in New York City and still miss being home in Lebanon if you're Lebanese, and then you can be in Lebanon and miss being home in New York City.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's a big thing for third culture kids. I think everybody has different experiences with this, different yet similar experiences.
yeah,
And the beauty of being a third culture kid is that wherever you go, you belong. So, regardless of what you think, wherever you are, you belong or you can belong, regardless.
yeah,
And
100%.
I
You
think
can
I
find your
really would love to hear everybody's little stories, maybe their questions of how we
yeah,
grew up, right? Or their stories about themselves being third culture kids, or maybe
100%.
just experiencing living abroad for a specific amount of time and how
Yeah,
that made them feel and what they learned. And I think
yeah,
that would
how
be great for everybody to just jump in and tell me and Petra through DMs on Instagram, messages on any of the other social media platforms that we're using. We would
yeah.
love to keep the conversation on third culture kids going.
Yes. We'd love for you to comment, like, subscribe, and
Share.
leave all of share and
Are you
leave
not proud?
all of your yeah, leave all of your kind of thoughts on third culture kids. Are you a third culture kid? How has it changed your perspective? How has it changed your whole life, right? Because it changes your whole life. Did we miss anything? Like, was there anything that you
Yes.
wanted us to touch on that we didn't touch on, maybe? Um, but yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for joining us on episode 1 of Can We Discuss with Yara and Petra. We're so excited to be here. We can't wait to, see you again next week for episode 2, where we're going to be touching on long distance friendships, like Yara already kind of teased earlier. Um, but again, thank you so much for all of your support. We're so excited to go on this journey with you guys, and we can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you for joining our unfiltered first
Yeah.
episode where the electricity cuts in Dubai. Ma'ood?
Yeah. If you really want to see something unique, come on Can We Discuss.
Never before.
Yeah.
Never before footage of electricity cuts in Dubai.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you
real.
guys so much for joining. We hope you've listened this far. We would love to hear your feedback. And we're so excited. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye, everyone. Mom and Dad, we hope you're proud.
We hope you're proud. Thanks for watching.